All hell broke loose in the Middle East last night as the ceasefire broke down between Iran and the U.S. Now, the U.S. launched a missile barrage into Qeshm and Goruk, hitting radar and drone sites in response to Iran knocking down a U.S. MQ-1 drone over international waters. It cost about $4 million, that drone, by the way. And CENTCOM wants to clutch their pearls over this one. But at the same time, the U.S. military just fired a missile into the Lian Star to violently stop its transit across the Strait of Hormuz. That's a commercial shipping container ship, by the way. That's not a military threat. That's not a military asset of Iran. This entire thing really highlights the hypocrisy of the moment coming from this administration, Washington, right now. And the people have absolutely no control over it. Because we're going to say that we're going to launch self-defense missile barrages into Iran at the same time that we're apparently having negotiations. And we're going to demand total obedience from international, from global shipping, while we cry foul when one of our drones gets knocked down. Thank God we're blowing up millions of dollars worth of hardware into the Iranian sand, because I was afraid that we were accidentally going to spend that money on something that's actually useful to the American people, like lowering the price of beef or providing school lunches for every child in need in a tri-state area for an entire year. We have violently disabled international shipping. We are firing missiles at commercial ships, all for the sake of the freedom of navigation. Folks, it makes complete sense if you don't think about it at all, right? It makes complete sense if you've been completely lobotomized by mainstream media. After the missile strikes in Qeshm and Goruk, the IRGC immediately struck back at U.S. bases that were used in the initial assault on Iran in Kuwait. And Kuwait is absolutely scrambling. Their air defense sirens are going off all night, and their military was intercepting hostile drones and missiles in their airspace. The entire region right now, the whole region, is a complete powder keg. And this is the trap. This is the trap that's been 47 years in the making. And they knew that with this president, his pride, his ego, his hubris would lead him right into the snare. And that's the thing. The United States, this government has been completely ensnared. And now our entire trillion-dollar war machine is absolutely bogged down in an unwinnable asymmetric nightmare in the most important maritime choke point in the entire world. See, the problem is President Trump thought that he could go into the Persian Gulf and just kind of bully everyone there, that everyone would just kind of bend down and praise him, flatter him, just like at every one of his chief of staff meetings that are really just gross to watch. We'll play a clip of that.
It has never been a better time to be an American.
I think actually your efforts on the reflecting pool are actually a great segue. Just like you talked about with the reflecting pool, we didn't do the same old thing the way we've done it in the past.
Just a reminder of another war you helped to settle, Mr. President.
It's exciting to see your vision.
You're leading us.
But that's not how it went out. And instead, we have our entire U.S. military, our entire defense budget bleeding out in the Persian Gulf right now. What should have been, by all accounts, a very easy mission has completely collapsed. And it's the credibility, really, that's taken the biggest hit. And the global south is watching this. And that's why currently, when we're trying to undermine Brazil's election by setting up Bolsonaro's son against President Lula da Silva, with the entire scandal behind that, with white-collar criminals that are being hidden in the United States who are funding campaigns and movies being produced by Bolsonaro's son about his father. And the American people are really left completely abandoned in the United States. This entire thing just comes across as a complete farce, but the global south is watching and taking notes. Because we have to ask ourselves what we're actually getting for this kind of brilliant foreign policy is we're constantly seeing gas prices climb, and grocery bills are starting to look like what a mortgage payment was years ago. And we're burning through our national treasure to protect the fragile ego of a dying dictator. And the administration cares more about insulting the press than the financial reality of its own people. While we enforce freedom in the Middle East, what's actually happening at home? How are they actually enforcing freedom in the United States? Look at Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey. We have federal ICE agents who are clashing with protesters because of the abysmal reports that are actually coming out of Delaney Hall. You're talking about one doctor for 800 people that are being held against their will. And it's gotten so bad that the governor had to send in the state police to set up concrete barriers. But thankfully, our government is a gracious and benevolent dictatorship at this point. So they're giving us free speech zones. You get a little fenced in pen that you can exercise your First Amendment rights that your ancestors bled for. Thank you, government. But just make sure that you don't actually break the 9 p.m. curfew that the mayor set up, or you're going to end up getting hit with rubber bullets. And as somebody who is trained in non-lethal munitions, I can tell you right now that rubber bullets can absolutely kill.
That's my designated First Amendment zone? Get the f out of here. You know what I'm talking. You're laughing over here. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Designated First Amendment zone? 6 years, a broken back, 1 deployment to the Middle East, 3 friends lost in service to this country. You're gonna tell me that's my designated First Amendment zone? I don't know. Get the f out of here. That's wild. That's unacceptable. Mikey Sherrill, get out here. Do something about this. One veteran to another, get out here. Do your job. Where the f have you been? Where were you when they were throwing us under tractor trailers? Get out here, Mikey Sherrill. One veteran to another. I'm calling you out. You chose your job, and I am not going to apologize. I sacrificed so much for this country, and you're going to tell me this is my designated First Amendment area? I'm offended. How dare you?
See, that's where we are right now. A guy who actually fought for the empire has to scream at cops in riot gear in New Jersey because the Constitution is now a zone-restricted privilege. You can only talk about your constitutional rights. You can only talk about what's just and fair in a nation that celebrates freedom and liberty in a small chain-linked area. We've said this and we've said it again. When an empire begins to die and it contracts, the barrels of the guns always turn inwards. And the American people are waking up to this. The American people are done with this. The people in Newark, New Jersey, and the people around the United States right now see that the government would rather force you into poverty and pen you into free speech zones than actually admit that their own hubris led them into an obvious and humiliating trap in the Middle East. And the thing is, this isn't going to end anytime soon. At the beginning of the weekend, on Friday, the reports came out where officials from Washington, D.C. were saying that they're not having any communications with the Iranians, counter to what Donald Trump's been saying. He says that the communiques going back and forth are essentially as rapid fire as 2 teenage girls on Snapchat. But that's just not the case. The official comes out and says, we can't even email them. They're living in caves. But they're not living in caves, are they? They're in bunkers. They're in military installations that have been built over the past 47 years, 150 meters in the Zagros Mountains, underneath granite where the bunker busters can't touch them. That's where they're at. The thing is, during the Punic Wars, Hannibal didn't lose against Rome because Rome had a far superior military force. It was the strategy of one of the consuls who said, the linear combat that we're used to, we're going to have to get away from. We're going to have to go after the supply chains. We're going to have to stymie their advances. We're going to have to let them run out of the resources that they actually need until eventually they're forced into a position where they have to act radically. And at that moment, that is where the Romans will capitalize. We are the Carthaginians. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is Hannibal, because Hannibal was a brilliant tactician and military commander. I'm just saying that the historical parallels are absolutely there, and it didn't work out well for Carthage because they kind of ceased to exist after all that. But let me know what you think in the comments section. Stay vigilant out there. Food for thought as always. Take care.